YouTube, we're talking college football here in the Deep South where it's king and the battle cry is War Eagle. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Once again, talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle, beautiful fall morning. It is Tuesday. Auburn actually takes on Texas A&M this coming weekend down in College Station, which is in the eastern part of Texas. Going to play that game in Kyle Field. Seats about 102,000 folks. Texas A&M relatively new to the Southeastern Conference. Going to give a bird's eye view on this particular game and this particular team and what they mean to the Southeastern Conference. In an expansion effort, the SEC decided to welcome Missouri from the Big 12 and Texas A&M from the Big 12. And what a nice addition both teams have been. Texas A&M has been playing football since 1894. Have had a nice string tradition-wise, all-time record, 741, 481, and 48. The last number indicative of ties. They've had 48 tied games in their history as a program. Another thing to note is that there have been many good coaches that either were successful at Texas A&M or they started their career at Texas A&M and, went to a different school and was highly successful. And then there were several coaches who left their stamp permanently on this particular football team. Now, some coaches to note, in doing research on this particular team, I was actually shocked at some of the things that I saw as far as the coaches that had the privilege of serving a tenure at Texas A&M. Now, I wasn't shocked by this one. Bear Bryant, the famous coach from Alabama, spent some time at Texas A&M, compiling a 25-14-2 record. He was actually known for the Junction Boys. If you look at the movie The Junction Boys, I'm pretty sure the real life story of the Junction Boys was way harder than what you saw in the movies. I think Bear Bryant probably worked those guys pretty hard. One of the most famous interviews while he was at Texas A&M was the fact that, Bryant attempted to integrate the all-white Texas A&M. We know the history of our nation, where at one point the nation was segregated along color lines. But Texas A&M, while Bear Bryant was there, attempted to go ahead and get the integration process started. This was back in the 50s. And he was told by a Texas A&M official that we will be the last in the Southwest Conference to integrate. And Bear Bryant adamantly applied, then we're going to finish that way in football. Later on, Bear Bryant left to go back to Alabama, where he is currently one of the best coaches, not only in Alabama football history, but college football history. Also, ironically, Gene Stallings got a chance to coach at Texas A&M, actually his alma mater. He was part of the whole Junction Boys process there. Wasn't that successful. He's 27, 45, and 1. And only had one winning season there, winning one Southwestern Conference championship back in 1967. But he goes on to Alabama and wins a national championship. Jackie Sherrill from 1982. The reason why I note him is Jackie Sherrill from 1982 to 1988. He actually was the guy that coined the phrase, the 12th man. You will see that that's what you will hear all Saturday long is the 12th man. They've actually notated the stadium for that particular part of the Texas A&M tradition. Now, you can't mention Texas A&M football without mentioning R.C. Slocum. He was a 14 years as a head coach for Texas A&M, the most accomplished head coach. He was a defensive coordinator at first, but in his 14 years, he compiled a 123, 47-2 record, making him the most winning coach in Texas A&M history. Actually, the culture of Texas A&M, you would be remiss to leave R.C. Slocum out of what eventually became the culture of Texas A&M. And like I said before, Texas A&M makes the entry into the SEC West. Took the SEC West by storm, going 12-2 under Kevin Sumlin, garnishing another conference quarterback as a national champion. Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, all those guys before him come right out of the gate getting it done. Then the next couple of seasons, one thing about Texas A&M where they did struggle a little bit was definitely on defense. You're talking about over a span of a few years, averaging well over 26 points allowed, 1 year as many as 30-plus points on the defensive side, because that's the part that they struggle with. They didn't necessarily struggle moving the football. It was just always defense for the Texas A&M Aggies. And another thing to note is the fact that as storied of a history that Texas A&M has, only 6 10-win seasons over the past 30 years. And we look at now Texas A&M starting out 2-1, losing to Clemson. And we're going to do a little bit more to talk about where Texas A&M currently stands. They're battling some injuries that could prove to be detrimental, having to replace some key guys on defense, which might actually tell on them down the stretch. Was projected to actually be a team this year that could push Alabama, could push LSU, fighting with Auburn for the supplementary spots in the SEC West. But we will see if that will come to pass. Also, great quarterback Kellen Mond with last season 3,100 yards passing the football, another 400 yards running, has become a very, very nice force in the SEC conference. So we're going to see how this pans out against a very athletic, definitely upgraded linebacker-wise for the Auburn Tigers. So we're going to see how this game turns out. Later on this afternoon, we're going to have some more coverage of the Texas A&M Auburn game, which has become a very unique rivalry, and it has really told the story of the SEC West in some forms or fashions here for the last few years, especially since Texas A&M's arrival. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle.